Good morning. In this week we read the double parsha of Behar-Bechukotai, the final parshas of the book of Vayikra, of the book of Leviticus. And Bechukotai, the majority of the parsha, is actually taken up with the blessings and the curses. And the curses, in fact, are much more numerous than the blessings and quite horrendous. And we should certainly spend a bit of time looking into how we understand this, especially in perspective of having a loving God. We believe that Hashem cares about us and loves us very much. In fact, every day before we say the Shema, in the bracha we say before, we speak about how much Hashem loves us. You have loved your nation, the Jewish people, with this great love, Torah, mitzvot, chukim, umishpatim, marata, and therefore you have taught us the Torah, therefore you've given us. So this Torah that we're going to read, this Torah is a gift of love. This Torah is not coming as some kind of persecutory instruction. It's a gift of Hashem's love from us, as we say also in the blessings before we read the Torah every day. Asher bachar banu mikolam v'natan lanu et Torah. You chose us, you selected us from the nations to give us this special Torah, and yet we have these frightening and horrible curses. So how are we to understand them? The Maggid of Dubno, just a couple of curses that you'll see. Hashem says, Ve'im, this is in chapter 26, verse 14, Ve'im lo tishmu li ve'lo tasu et kol hamitzvot ha'elu. If you do not listen to me, if you do not do ma mitzvot, these mitzvot, im bechukotai timasu, if you feel disgusted by my laws, ve'met mishpatai tig'al nafshechem, and your soul rejects my laws, levilti asot et kol mitzvotai, to not do all of my mitzvot, lehafrachem et briti, to annul my covenant. And the Chofetz Chaim says there's a difference between cancelling and annulling. To cancel something means that you have a reason why we had a deal up till now, and now for whatever reason I'm going to cancel that deal. But to annul something means that you're cancelling it without a reason. Hafara, that's it, it's finished. It's finished. So, lahavrichem et briti, you just forsake, abandon, cancel the covenant. Hafani esezot lachem. So too I will do this to you. V'ifkareti aleichem behala et hashachafet v'et hagadachat mechalot einayim umidivot nefesh uzratem lerik zarachem v'achluhu oiveichem. I will do the same to you. I will bring upon you panic, swelling lesions, burning fever, horrible sicknesses, which cause the eyes to long and souls to suffer. You will sow your produce for emptiness, and your enemies will eat it. So, and it continues, gets worse and worse. But what we see from the way that it's phrased right at the beginning is Hashem is saying all of this as a response to the behavior of the Jewish people, as a response to the fact that the Jewish people themselves behave towards Hashem in a certain way. And the way that the Maggid of Dubno explains this is he says, halachtem, a verse a little bit later says, halachtem imikeri, v'halachta afani machem bekeri. You walk with me in a happenstance, casual manner, in a manner without showing any consistency and dedication. I will behave towards you in the same way. And he says what that can be explained is a king who used to consistently celebrate every happy event in the kingdom by giving all of his officers and ministers wonderful gifts. Every year was his birthday, he'd give them a gift. The anniversary of his becoming king, he'd give them a gift. All these kinds of things he'd give them. Rosh Hashanah, he'd give them a gift. But he had also a few doctors that he would call in whenever he was ill. And to the doctors, he didn't used to give gifts on these days. However, whenever the doctors were in trouble, he would help them out. Okay, what's that got to do with anything? So, firstly, so his officers said to him, Sir, can you explain to us, Your Majesty, why is it that you show this differentiation, this favoritism towards your officers? He says, well, it's quite simple. The officers are my officers all the time. They serve me and work for me consistently. And therefore, when it comes to giving out reward and prizes and nice things, I give it to them consistently. However, he says, these doctors they're not with me all the time. I call them when I need them. So I call them when I need them, but they're not there all the time. So they can call me when they need me, but I won't be there for them all the time as well. And he says this is the same thing when it comes to us and Hashem. If we are, so to speak, there for Hashem all the time, if we are involved in goodness and godliness and holiness and connecting to Hashem all the time, then Hashem's involved with us all the time. But if we turn to Hashem only when we need Him, so Hashem says, fine, you don't want me in my life, I'll let things take their natural course. I'll let the world run as it does, which is not always, I don't need to tell you, which is not always in our favor. And then, then when you need me, you can let me know, which is obviously not the desirable relationship to have. The second idea, also from the Maggid of Dubno, is that Hashem says later on, Ve'etchem ezareh v'goyim, and I will sow you, I will scatter you amongst the nations of the world. That this, again, is the punishment for the way they're behaving. They are thrown out of the land of Israel, exiled from our holy country, and they are sent to be sent amongst the nations of the world. And the Midrash actually says, Amar lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Hashem says to the Jewish people, Hoyol v'atem rotzim ba'avodat gilulim, af ani agale etchem lemakom sheyesh avodat gilulim. Since you clearly desire to worship idols, I will send you to a place where you can worship idols. And the Maggid of Dubno once again explains this with a story, that he says there was a wealthy man who used to invite many, many guests. Every week he'd have a lot of guests. And sometimes he would have very sophisticated, wealthy, pampered guests, and sometimes he'd have very simple people. And what he would do is he would provide a variety of food at the more respectable, sophisticated areas of the table. He would provide more greater delicacies, more sophisticated food. And at the other end of the table where the simple people sat, he would provide simple food. Now, before you make any assumptions, let's hear the rest of the story. So once a man came who seemed to be the kind of person who would really enjoy sitting at the top of the table. So he says to him, come sit up here with us. And, they're talking about Torah and literature and all kinds of things. And at the bottom there are people, talking about TV and sports. I'm just joking. But, you've got these different groups. So the king says, this host says to the man, eat and enjoy. And the man looks around, and he looks at the food, and he's not really sure about it, and he goes to the other side of the table, and he fills his plate from there, and then he comes back. The host says to him, you know what, my friend, tell you what, let me come and make a seat for you at that end of the table. And he gets this guy up, and he's ushering him over, and one of the other guests says, hey, why are you humiliating the guy in this way? You're giving him a seat of honor, now you're taking him down to a seat of, not so much honor. Host says, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, I'm not trying to humiliate the guy. I want him to feel comfortable. I want him to be in a place where he feels he's associating with his peers. Over here, he's a bit lost. He feels uncomfortable. This is not the kind of food he's used to. It's not the kind of conversation and people he's used to. Let me put him over there where he can be with his peers. So he says, Hashem said to the Jewish people, you are a holy nation. You can achieve this great level of holiness. You can study Torah. You can bring morality and goodness to the world. So I will give the land that is uniquely geared for this, which is the land of Israel. He says, Hashem put us in the land of Israel. But then people were saying, maybe we want horses. The best place for horses is not Israel, it was Egypt. Maybe we want money. So the best place for money is to go somewhere else. So the people started even going, they took on other priorities. Hashem says, you know what? If you have other priorities, then don't hang around here in Israel. Then Israel's not the place for you. But then you've also lost out on being who you are as the Jewish people. And that's what we've got to think about as well. Where do you want to be? What are your priorities? What place do you want to choose based on what you want to accomplish? Where do you want to put yourself in life? If we put ourselves in a situation where we want to achieve spirituality, holiness, a relationship with God, then we make Israel our priority. We make the shul, the yeshiva, the house of study, that becomes our priority. If what we want in life is business, all right, fine. But then don't ask why Hashem, God forbid, throws us out of Israel and burns down the shuls. Because you've shown him that that's not what you want. So, a brief perspective on these curses, as unpleasant as they are, we see that they're a mirror. They are Hashem's response, and he makes that very clear in the Torah. That Hashem's response to the way we behave. If we behave in this kind of irresponsible, careless, uninvested way, we will reap, as you say, what we sow, or in fact, as the curse go, we won't even reap what we sow, because our enemies will take it. Please God, we will not have those curses. We'll just see the blessings in our life and the life of the whole Jewish people. Have a wonderful Shabbos.